Hey guys, welcome to Learn Rock Lighting, where I teach you how to rock some lights. So let's go with this. Alright guys, on this channel we teach DMX lighting, and we are going to be doing a series on lights from the ground up. We're going to start with terminology, we're going to go all the way up into programming exotic, really epic, cool scenes. We're going to be using Show Express. If you don't have Show Express, I would suggest that you get your hands on it because it really is the best thing out there, and we'll talk about all that later. But for now, we're going to discuss terminology. In order to be able to talk to each other and you to understand me and you to send me questions if you have any, we have to speak the same language. So terminology, let's start it. The first thing we want to do is define what DMX is. It is a digital multiplex. It is a system that's a universal language, meaning that it's good on anything. Whether you have a $30 light or a $30,000 light, it works the same way. And basically, it's going to send information from your light board to your lights and tell your lights what to do as far as what color, if it wants strobe, how fast it wants the strobe, if it wants to fade out, if it wants the light to fade in, if it wants the light to black out. It controls everything through one single cable that goes to the very first light or some equipment that comes before the first light, but we'll talk about all that later. The first term that we want to discuss is channels. And in the context that we're going to use channels, it's going to be referring to the channels in a light or the channels in DMX. DMX is composed of 512 channels. That is one single universe. A universe makes up 512 channels. Now, some lighting boards, consoles, whatever you want to call them, only have 12 channels. Very limited on what you could do. Other lighting consoles will have 300 channels open for DMX. And the more upper end stuff starts out with 512, so it's a complete universe. And that's what we're going to be working with when we get into programming. By the way, guys, this is all live. There's no editing here. There's no punching things in if I make a mistake. If I do a 45-minute video and I mess it up at 44 minutes, the whole video has to be redone again. So just go ahead and bear with me. First video in the series. Next thing we want to talk about is values. In stage lighting, values are not like a volume knob on a stereo that goes from 0 to 10, or a soundboard, maybe it goes to 100 on the fader, or whatever it goes to. Because it's a universal language, it's always going to be in all the lights and all the light boards. A value is 0 to 255. 0 being the least, 255 being the most. Somewhere around 112, 117 in that general area, that's going to be half. Let's say we push the fader up to that point where it is half. Okay, when it's half, we're putting out half output. Let's assume that that fader is the fader for putting out a certain color. Half output. All the way up to 255, full output, as bright as it goes. When we mix colors, we might mix 255 of red, 255 of green, and that would give us yellow. If we start backing off on either of these numbers, it changes the color. So values are 0 to 255. Fixtures. A fixture is anything that is controlled by DMX. It could be a light, or it could be a fog machine. Both of these things are controlled with DMX. Lights are much like people. They have their own personality. The personality of a light is denoted by what is in each channel. For example, maybe you have one light that's a particular model, and in the first 4 channels is the master fader for output. The second channel would be red, the third would be green, and the fourth would be blue. Let's assume the next light that you're going to use, the first channel is red, the second is green, the third is blue, and the master fader is over in 4, not in 1. What channel is the strobe in? It could be in 7 or it could be in 6. Whatever it is in, whatever everything is in, that denotes the personality of the light. Now you have to know what's in every channel in order to program it. We'll call it patch it. In order to patch it in, you're going to have to know where they go in what channels, so you can tell the light board that, so the light board can tell the light what to do. And that comes with the picture that you saw when the screen came on, your manual. Your manual here, nope, that's not a manual. How did that happen? Okay, that's a manual. This manual here is for moving light. It tells you that the motor operation is in channel 1. The other motor operation is in 2. Moving lights have pan and tilt, always X and Y. We'll get into that later. Channel 3 is the speed. Channel 4 would be the master dimmer. The strobe will work here in channel 5. And then 6, red, 7, green, 8, blue, and so forth. This is how we know the personality of the light and how to lay it out in our board. A light has to have a starting address where we punch a number in so that the board or computer, whatever you're going to use for the console, knows where to find it. It's kind of like your house. The mailman is going to have the address in order to find the mail and get that magazine about lights to your house. With 512 available channels in DMX, the starting address can be anywhere between 1 and 512. For example, let's say we have a brand new light show. There's nothing in it, nothing's ever been patched into it before, and we're going to put our first light in it. Our first light, for simplicity, let's say it works on 4 channels. 4 channels would be red, green, blue, master fader. So we address that light to 1, and it now takes up 4 channels, red, green, blue, master fader. And we save it into that. So the first 4 channels are used, and now we want to put our second light in. So we've used 1, 2, 3, and 4. If the next light takes 4 channels, we're going to use 5, 6, 7, and 8. When we patch these lights in next to each other, they do not have to be likewise lights. One could be a regular standard light that just illuminates color, and the other one could be a moving light that spins all over the place and does all kinds of crazy things. Now, when I said it goes anywhere from 1 to 512 in the realm of addressing, if you're going to address something at 512, it's going to only have to have 1 channel because it can't go any further than 512. If it's got 2 channels, you'll address it at 511. When your light show is complete and you've used the entire universe of 512 channels, at that point you move on to a second universe. But that's heavier stuff, and we'll discuss that, talk about it, look at it, everything else, program it later on in the course. This is how we program a starting address. It's in here. These are digital readout with numbers. These are buttons. And this is what you do to assign the number up here. And we're going to go through this in the next video. Our next video is going to be on addressing, so I'm not going to touch on all these buttons right now. But it's all done through the back right there. And the next one will be hands-on, watch some lights get programmed, watch them turn on, all kinds of cool stuff. Back in the day when DMX first started, everything wasn't programmed like that, digitally in the back with numbers. It was with a thing called dip switches. There was a little series on the back of a light or a dimmer pack, whatever it might be, of numbers. And then there were switches. Let's say you wanted to program into channel 6. Yeah, 6 would be good, right? You'd put up 4 and you would put up 2, and that would equal 6. So it got a whole lot easier when you could just punch it in as to figuring out all these numbers. There are entire things written about how to figure them out and how to work with them. It's a whole lot easier when it's digital. All right, let's talk about DMX cables. DMX cables are that. They are DMX cables. They are not microphone cables. So let's discuss the difference. This is a DMX cable. This is not. This is an XLR. And this XLR has 3 pins. A microphone cable is an XLR, and it too has 3 pins. But it's not a DMX cable. These plugs are not what make up the cable, being DMX. Again, this is what makes it up, the cable itself. A DMX cable is 110 ohms. It transfers data at a high speed from the light board to the light, and a microphone cable doesn't transfer it as quickly. Now, it's an old age thing, an argument whether or not you can use microphone cables for lights. Yes, you can. The problem comes in where you're doing really long runs. You might get erratic things happening with the lights, so you're best to use DMX cables. I always recommend DMX. I usually do short runs, so I've used microphone cables. I've actually never had a problem with them, but I've switched to everything being DMX, short or not. We just don't want to have a problem, because you know what's going to happen. You're going to use microphone cables, and they'll work great for, say, 3 months. And then 3 months and 1 day are going to go by, and you're going to have the agent come in, and he's going to decide whether he wants to hire this lighting company to be with this band, and the lights are going to go out, and you're going to have all kinds of problems and stuff flashing everywhere. So it's best to, you know Murphy's Law, use DMX cables, guys. DMX cables come in 3 and 5 pin. Normally, the higher end lights in concerts have 5 pins. And normal commercial lights have 3 pins. There's nothing wrong with lights with 3 pins. I don't own a light with 5 pins, and you'll see my light show eventually, and believe me, you'll be impressed with it. There's no problem using 3 pins. If you have a 5-pin light, 3-pin cable, 5-pin cable, there are adapters. So if you have 2 things that don't match, you can use these adapters, and they work just fine. Daisy chaining. Often in stage lighting, lights are daisy chained, meaning that we're just hooking one light to the next light. For example, here's your lighting controller. The controller sends the signal out and into the light. The light sends the signal out into the next light. The next light sends the signal out into the next light. And then that light sends the signal out into the next light, or the last light in the chain. When you daisy chain lights, they don't have to be the exact same light. Okay, here you can see we have a par light. It's a regular light. The next light could be a moving headlight. They don't have to be likewise lights. They don't have to use the same amount of channels. You can daisy chain anything you want. You could take a light and daisy chain it to a fog machine, and everything's going to work fine. It's just a transmission of signal and information, and it's going through one, it recognizes it, and then it goes into the next one. There's a rule. The rule is no more than 33 lights to a daisy chain, or a string. Let's call it a string. A string of lights, or a daisy chain, is 33 lights maximum. Now, this rule depends a lot on what the distance you're running is. If you're running a great distance, you may want to go less than 33 lights. If you're running a short distance, you might be able to get away with a couple more lights on it. But 33 is the standard rule, and unless you're out doing really large places, 33 would probably work real good for you. This is a terminator. When we reach the end of our daisy chain, a lot of people like to use terminators. Basically what they do is they absorb the signal so that it doesn't go back through the line and cause erratic movement and moving heads and lights flashing and all kinds of problems of that nature. A lot of people use terminators to solve problems. If lights are flickering or flashing, you can try a terminator. A lot of people just use them as a rule at the end of the daisy chain as a preventative. Me, I have never used it at the end of a daisy chain, and I have never found that it's fixed any problems that I've had with lights. And just for piece of information right here. Most problems in lights are a bad cable. That is the problem more than anything else in lights, or user programming error. But a terminator is what you need to carry in your toolbox because you never know when it might come in handy. A controller, simply a light board. It could be a board. It could be in a computer. Our next video, we're going to be using this right here, what you're looking at, but just a smaller version of it, because we're just doing a very quick demonstration on something. As we start programming in this course, we're going to be using a laptop, and it's all computerized, and there's virtual things in it, and just great stuff that you're going to love with that. But a console, controller, light board, those are the three terms that we're going to use in this course. And here we have a scene, a group of lights all put together to conjure up a scene. It could be an elaborate scene like this one, or it could be one light aimed at a solo artist. It's red. That's the scene. This is one that I built right here. I've used this in one of my videos, maybe a couple of them. Identifiable by this thing. All right, you guys know what that thing is. It has nothing to do with lights, right? You know that. Our last term is chase. That is groupings of lights that are put together. Easier for me to show you by hand. Let's say we make a scene and it's red. We make another scene and it's blue. We make another scene and it's green. A chase sequentially puts out every scene. So it would be red, yellow, green. The chase goes red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green. It could be slowed down to go red, yellow, green. If we add blue, it'll go red, yellow, green, blue. If we're going red, yellow, blue, it's 3 steps. It's called a 3-step chase. If we're doing red, yellow, blue, white, for example, that would be a 4-step chase. They don't have to be all one color. I'm just using that as an example. We can chase any grouping of lights that we want to chase. And chases can get very elaborate. I'm going to show you some really cool chases as we do this. We're going to build chases together. So we got all kinds of fun stuff to look forward to. All right, guys, that about concludes this video right here. Our next video is going to be on addressing, strictly addressing, not much more than that. We're going to have some fun with that. We're going to have less video pictures popping up on the screen and more hands-on stuff. We're going to use real lights, and we're going to show you how to address the lights, how to daisy chain the lights, how to use them in likewise channels and different channels. So it should be quite informative for you. We don't know what the viewers like out here or want, but what we do believe is that everything should be taught in a succession. Since we don't know what your experience level is, it may be none. Maybe you just aspire to be a lighting person one day for your church, or you want to learn how to hook up just a few lights for your solo act, or you want to get really elaborate chases built and learn more about lighting for your band and have like 25 different scenes that you want to use. So we're going to go through everything here, and it all starts hands-on for the next video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you like it, because we're going to put everything out in a succession, like I said, a logical order, and you guys don't want to miss anything, because this is the place where we learn rock lighting and teach you how to rock some lights. See you guys next week.